Gentlemen, take a seat. Yeah, take a seat. Gentlemen. Yeah, for those that have not registered, please go under the light, to register yourself. Press it. And also, for the new people joining the DPA Army, do go to the sub. Go to my subordinate, the sub, to subscribe yourself. So we do the situation report. Some major things happening today, and this is the Bahrain. Anyway, okay, I need to reintroduce myself. Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of day 1121 for the 20th of March for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. So some major things happened. Also, this is known as the SITREP, by the way, in case you do not know. But you should know. You guys are the soldiers, right? So, one of the biggest thing happened, or that is raging all over the pro-Ukrainian information space, is the missile strike on the Engels Air Base. So, at Saratov, this is Engels, and this is the air base that was hit. I think they hit Engels 2. I'm not sure if this is exactly the airbase, but I think it should be this one. They hit a allegedly hit ammunition storage facility. There's a massive explosion at this airbase. According to the information from pro-Ukrainian accounts, they said that the explosion had the radius of 5 kilometers, which is ridiculous. I think the shock wave have the radius of 5 kilometers. That if an explosion with a radius of 5 kilometers is a nuclear weapon. So yeah, that's nonsensical. So allegedly, the X-101 missiles that was delivered to the airbase was probably hit in the warehouse. The warehouse, he estimated around 70 missiles. I think he's just making numbers up. I'm not sure. So according to open source intelligence, 3 bombers is stationed at this airbase. 3 Tu-95 and 2 Tu-160, and in the morning there was allegedly a Il-76, that's probably delivering the missiles. So according to I paste this source in the wrong part, so it should be like this. So Max, which is one of the top NAFO accounts, basically informs about the possible delivery of missiles, which probably attracted a missile strike. So this is probably what you're all going to see on pro-Ukrainian reporting. So there's something that to note, because I would talk about air base strike, but I will not talk about strikes on energy facilities, because hitting civilian stuff is all over the place. So we're going to go into the Kursk front. So anyway, happy birthday to the commanders that are having a birthday today. Happy birthday to you guys. So we go into the Kursk front. At the Kursk front, we have Russian forces. Actually, this I've talked before. Give me a second. Okay, I've checked. I have not talked about this before. So over at the Kursk front. So this is the Kursk front. We split it into 3 sectors right now. There's the Sumy sector. Give me a second. The Sumy sector, basically the Kursk sector, and then the Belgorod sector over here. This is Belgorod. This is the Kursk sector. This is the Sumy sector. So this Sumy sector is where the Russians have penetrated into the Sumy region. There is geolocation of Russian forces inside Zuravka, confirming the Russian presence in this area here. So this corroborates part of the Russian claims in Zuravka. So that happened. Within the Kursk front is the Kursk sector of the Kursk front itself. Fighting is reported at Gogolevka, Oleshnya, as well as Gorno. Important thing to note is the Russian Defense Ministry did not mention Goevo or Guyevo or Guyeva, depending on what you pronounce, what you prefer to pronounce. So it is a bit interesting that Guevo is no longer mentioned. So Guevo, it's Guevo. So anyway, however, the Russian forces continue to use FPV drones, striking Ukrainian logistics in the rear position at Yunakivka and south of Yablutnivka. The distance of these strikes is probably coming from Basivka, because Basivka is just 7-8 kilometers away. If we're going to go from the other, from the Sudjia region, it's going to be 12 kilometers. So these strikes may be coming from Basivka. So we shall see how this continue to play out. Russian forces most likely is sending drones from this area here, because this distance is a little bit too far. A little bit too far. But of course, it's flyable. Drone, I think is to go pretty much close to the maximum range. And in the Ukrainian mapping, they have noted that the Russian forces have secured basically all of the forests around the west of Krylovka. So this is noted, and this would potentially is able to allow the Russians to cut off the retreat at Goevo. What is not clear here is that there is some roads around here. So there's some dirt roads here. There is a normal road just off this forest. So this road is no longer usable because the Russians are just nearby, a distance of merely half a kilometer, which is definitely under Russian fire control. The road cannot be used. Otherwise, the Ukrainians can still use this other road, which is more like a dirt road than anything. So to Guyevo. So anyway, that's all. And the Russian Defense Ministry also mentioned, so over in the Belgorod sector, they mentioned the shelling over at Mala Ribitsia already, as well as Stepok. This is the reports coming from the Russian side. They also, and then the pro-Russian sources reported that the Ukrainian forces continue to attack at Demidovka as well as Prilese. So this attack continues, and they have mapped that the Ukrainian forces have secured a strong position, which I might have already told you in the previous SITREP, which not a lot of you guys attended the briefing. So, yeah, miss another one, I will send you to detention barracks. But anyway, so that's all from this region here over at the Kursk front. So the Ukrainians have not given up yet over in the incursion on Belgorod. So be aware that it is always possible to break through, and then they'll start to safari around and create yet another Kursk front situation where they just drive into rear positions and then they'll take quite a bit of ground. That's still a possibility. Over at the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, we have the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned about the fighting at Klipoke. So this is this town here might still be contested. We have not heard much about this town yet. The front line look like this, which clearly doesn't look very real. But we shall wait for more information. But tentatively, Kharkiv front is a very sleepy front, so don't expect too much. But within the Kharkiv Oblast, we still have other front lines. So in the Kharkiv, we still have the Voreshna as well as the Kupiansk. These are all in the Kharkiv Oblast. So in the Voreshna front, we have in the northern flank, the Russians attacking Kayamka. So this is reported by pro-Russian sources. They basically caught up with the information coming from the Ukrainian side of the Russian having this bridgehead just northeast or east of Krasny Pershi. Over at the Voreshna itself, Ukrainian forces have taken back part of Voreshna according to Russian mapping, claiming that the Ukrainians have some success in this sector, reaching almost close to the center. They are around maybe half a kilometer from the center of Voreshna, where the junctions were. So of course, not the physical center, but I think the center, the city center. But they are basically at the center, physical, geographical center of Voreshna itself. So this happened. Further south in the Voreshna front, the Russians continue to ignore whatever happening in the Voreshna itself. They are conducting an offensive from Kalinove direction towards Malak-Shapkivka, Tishchankivka, as well as Kindrashivka. The information is coming in a mixed bag of Russian and Ukrainian reports. So this is definitely some major operation from the Russian side pushing in the southwesterly direction over in the Voreshna front. Over at the Kupiansk front. So by the way, before I continue, do let me know what you think in the new way of representing. This is actually more relaxing for me. It's more actual military way of talking, and it's more or less, I don't have to talk so fast, put it that way, and I can just take my time to think before I talk. Although I always think before I talk, I think. So do press the like button, subscribe if you have not, and also yeah, let me know what you think, comment, because yeah, you guys are commanders, right? So we might as well just lap all the way. So over at the Kupiansk front, Russian forces are attacking Kupiansk itself, Petropavlovka, as well as Pischani. So generally, this is strategically more or less the same. Nothing particularly special about this. And also, if I'm still in the military and I did not leave the military and I continue to stay and end up I reach a level of seniority where I'm giving SITREPs, that is probably how I will talk to my soldiers. So yeah, so just a side note. And also fighting reporter at Ivanivka. So basically that's the situation around here. Ivanivka is a bit special. We haven't seen enough Ivanivka mentioned for the past 2 months plus, since the 11th of January. Previously, we do have mention of Stepova Novoselivka. So yeah, you just know, yeah, here and there is more or less the same thing. So but that's all from the Kupiansk front. Nothing particularly special about this report. Pischani, of course, no, we haven't seen this reported since the 4th, around 2 weeks. Go away. So over at the Borova front, we have fighting reported at Krylyakivka, Zarizove, Kopanki, Novosahievka, Nadia. So these are the where the Russians' attention is. There's one chunk here, another chunk in this sector. So far, there is still no indication of the Russians doing some major things around here. They are still skirmishing with the Ukrainians more or less. Moving further south to the northern flank of the Liman front, the Russian forces are attacking Novomihailivka, Katerinivka, and Novy. So this is basically more or less the same actions generally, where the Russians have Nevsky, Novolubivka, and Ivanivka, where they do this pushing up to the northwest. So that's all. Nothing new about this. Strategically, more or less the same. Within the Liman front itself, Yampolivka is the only one that is mentioned as usual lately. Is the only one that's being mentioned, and that's all. Moving into the Sivers front. At the Sivers front, Russian forces continue to be attacking at Bilohorivka as well as Velkomokanyamsky and Ivano-Darivka. So this sector here continues to be the main push by the Russian forces. There's probably attacks or shelling over at Siversk. I'm starting to lean towards it is some shelling. And Dronivka is also mentioned, according to the Russians. Yeah, according to the Russians, this will also be being mentioned. So generally, that's about it. This push definitely continues to be like a consistent pressure, but I don't think it's going to do a lot unless there is information or there is progress that is not reported, and then that's all we know for now. Moving into the Bakhmut front. So Bakhmut front, in the northern flank, we still have the mention of Minkivka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they're still talking about the Russians making some push around here. Important to note, the Russians did announce the capture of Orikovo-Vasilivka on the 9th of February, which means that they could potentially attack Minkivka from Orikovo-Vasilivka. That is not an impossibility. So Orikovo-Vasilivka itself is still being mentioned only recently, a few days ago, by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So we definitely have some kind of a divide in terms of universes, in terms of realities between the Russians and the Ukrainians. They see the situation quite differently. So we shall wait and see how this play out. Over in the central flank, we have the fighting reporter at Chasivya and Stupochki. The Battle of Chasivya continues. No much news regarding it. Rear position FPV drone hitting a pickup at Chevone was noted. Nothing particularly special about that. Over in the southern flank of the Bakhmut front, we have the mention of Alexandro Shutine, according to the Ukrainians, if I'm not wrong, yes. And Shelling's reporter at Ivano-Dipilia in the rear positions just southeast of Konstantinivka. And we go into the Thorax front. Take a seat. No, don't be late next time. And yeah, So yeah, some soldiers always so late, right? So yeah, they are looking for some extra work to do. Over at the thorax front, fighting is reported at Druzhba, Dachny, Dilievka, Krimsky, as well as thorax, and Shebenivka. So this is the thorax sector of the thorax front, where the Russians basically is trying to secure this entire region. The Ukrainians are giving their best so far in this region, and definitely the Russians are finding it really difficult. The main reason I would imagine is because of the proximity to Konstantinivka. This is one big city, and the support of a major city to this front line make it really hard for the Russians to capture it. So this is the main strategic importance of Konstantinivka, and so the Russians basically is still struggling to do anything more. So after all these advances that we have noted in these few regions, there is no continuation to that. So that's all for now. We shall look out for information in the next few days. Southern flank in the New-York sector. So New-York is over here. Russian forces seems to be doing some new operations in this sector with fighting reported at Sukhobauka, Pantelemonivka, as well as Alexandropil. Sukhobauka is mentioned for the first time in a month, and this comes together with Pantelemonivka also also more than a month. They have not been mentioned. So the Russians seems to be coordinating a major operation around this sector. I wonder if they are trying to secure the entire front line like this, so that they will line up against the Ukrainian defense line in this area here. So but there's a major fortification here, so not so easy, but we shall see. Over in the Pokrov front, so this is the Pokrov front. So we go into the northern flank. At the northern flank, we have fighting reported at Zelene Pole, Tarasivka, Melenivka, Yelizavetivka, as well as Novotoretsky. There is frontline change over at Tarasivka, noting the Russian forces advancing into Tarasivka in the south. Very, very tiny progress, not very important, but fighting continues in this sector. Over in the Minokhrad sector of the Pokrov front, fighting is mentioned at Promen, Minokhrad, Lysivka, Pokrov, and Zvefrove. So that's all. No mention of Shevchenko. So that's interesting. So that's all. We move on to the Pokrov sector. Pokrov sector, other Zvefrove, we have already mentioned. As usual, we have fighting at Kotline and Udashny. So that's all from this area. And moving into the southern flank. Southern flank, we have the Russian forces securing the northern outskirts of Zaporizhia, and fighting is reported now at oh, my bad, give me a second. Oh, I'm turning into Batman. So sorry for the sudden transformation to Batman. It's a secret identity you're not supposed to know, so you do not know. Fighting also, as mentioned, Zaporizhia northern outskirts is already secured by the Russian side. According to Ukrainian mapping, fighting have moved into Preobrazhenka. Russians are pushing towards Kotlyarivka, and fighting is still mentioned as Sripny. So the front line here is super messy and very unhygienic. So the Russians will have to do a lot to straighten the front line. As we zoom in, you can see how this looks like with the Russians securing up to the road north of Zaporizhia, and so they can now potentially attack into the tiny village of Preobrazhenka. So I'm surprised that they are able to hold a defense here. So let's see. Moving into the Andriivka front. So this Andriivka front, Russian forces are fighting at Andriivka, Konstantinopil, Rozliv, towards Behate, as well as towards Oleksievka, which probably coming from the south. So that's all. Strategically, nothing changed around here. Nothing special about this. Over at the Velika Novosilka front, the fighting is mainly over in the northern sector, with the mention of the shelling at Fedorivka, Vorkritsenka, Fighting is reported at Versailles and Venepole. So that's all. That doesn't look like a lot. So yeah, intensity might be falling. And that's all from the Velika Novosibirsk front. And we move on to the Zaporizhia front. Zaporizhia front, and Orikhiv sector and Kamsky sector continues to be fighting, where the Russians are having the offensive operation. And this time round, we have the mention of Mala Tomashka. So we have to split up. Over the Orikhiv sector, Russian forces are noted by Ryba, the Prussian source, and the Russian Defense Ministry of this push from Novopokrovka to Mala Tomashka. So this push is noted by both the source and the Russian Defense Ministry. Fighting is mentioned towards Novodanilivka, according to the Prussian source as well, with the Russians continue this never-ending pincer that never seems to close, not even slightly. So that's at Orikhiv. At the Kamsky sector, the Russians continue to push over in the east of Kayamsky, where the fighting is now at Shebaki, Mali Shebaki, Stepove. Allegedly, a possibility is in the north of Stepove, but no, it's not confirmed. And then fighting is reported at Bokove, with the Russian forces securing Petikaki. But this is a Russian claim. This is not corroborated from the Ukrainian side. So take this with a pinch of salt. So that's all from this Kamsky sector. The Russians continue to do their offensive operation around here. I believe the Russians could potentially go for this line of defense if they are able to push through. So this would line up nicely with the Ukrainian defense line to act as a no man's land. But we shall see how this goes. The Russians are very hard to predict. We move into the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, we have only shelling reported by the Russian side. We have shelling reported at Tokarivka, Mikhailsky, and Antonivka. There is some geolocation of Russian airstrikes in this sector as well. So there's one airstrike over at just off the Kherson International Airport. Another one is just off Tomarine. So these are Russian airstrikes noted. These are FAB bombs, and the Russians reported the shelling in these three regions. So that's all from the SITREP. So commanders, thank you for attending the SITREP briefing. So continue to do your good job and continue to achieve victory for the DPA army. And I'll see you guys in the next update. And check out these reports. Don't waste my effort. Bye guys.